Hey guys, Joshua here taking a deeper look at the different monster buffs that you're granted by smiting the different jungle camps. In Season 5, depending on what jungle camp you use your smite on, you'll be granted several different buffs. It's important to know which buffs you want, because you want to know when to save your smite and when to use it. I'm going to start at the buffs which I think are not as good and work towards the better ones. As I'm going through them, I'll explain what they do and why I think they are good or bad. It's worth noting that all of these buffs are situational to an extent. The way in which I'm going to rate them includes just how situational they are, and once you reach that situation, how useful they are as well. The worst jungle buff in my opinion is with the Gromp. When you smite the Gromp, you're given a buff that damages attackers for a certain amount of damage that scales with your levels over 3 seconds. Despite being the least situational of all the jungle buffs, meaning you can get benefit out of it in pretty much any situation you find yourself in, it is pretty lackluster. It doesn't give you any significant boost to your power or any good utility either, and as a result, it's really nothing special. The next least useful jungle buff probably lies with the blue buff. Not the blue buff you get when you kill it, but the benefit you get when you smite it. When you smite it, you instantly regen 20% of your mana, and the reason why this is not so useful is because if you're already smiting and killing the blue buff, chances are you're going to acquire that blue buff yourself, so you don't really need the burst in mana because you're going to be regenerating it in the future. Of course, once you reach a certain point in the game, you're probably going to be donating your blue buff across, but even still, once you reach that point in the game, you're probably not going to have too many mana issues yourself anymore. In addition to that, there's only really a handful of different junglers that will have mana issues and need that burst of mana. If it was a minicamp that gave you this mana bonus, then it would probably be a lot better, because you could find yourself low on mana and decide to then go to that camp to restore some. However, because the blue buff has a 5-minute respawn, the chances are it's probably not going to be up when you need it. Next up, we have the buff from the golems, which means every 5th hit, you stun a jungle monster. This buff is actually okay, it's kinda good in certain situations with certain champions, but in other times, it's pretty meh. It's decent for auto-attack junglers, think of the people who will be taking Devourer, and it's good for those junglers who have taken attack speed runes too. Outside of that though, it's not very useful for the others, and its tower effect, where if you hit a tower it consumes this buff, but does like 30 bonus damage, is really underwhelming. Next up, the wolves will spawn a spirit that scouts the blue buff area and will chase the first enemy that it sees. This is actually a really good smite bonus if you use it in the enemy jungle, but if you use it in your own jungle, it's pretty much 9 times out of 10 wasted and useless. And the 2 jungle camps with the best smite bonuses is definitely the red buff and the chickens. Again, when I talk about the red buff, I don't mean the actual buff you get when you kill it, I mean the bonus you get when you smite it. Similar to the blue buff, which grants you a burst of mana, you get a burst of health. This heal from the red buff is required by quite a few junglers early on to even survive in the jungle. It even scales quite nicely into the mid and late game because it heals for a percentage of your health, meaning the more health you have with the more items, the more health it will heal. And the best thing about the red buff heal is that every single jungler will benefit from it. The chicken smite bonus will grant you a buff that alerts you whenever you walk near a ward and grant you true vision or oracle's effect to take out that ward. It does only work once per buff though, so you'll only be able to kill 1 ward with its effect. This has the potential of being even better than the red buff's health benefit. The only reason why I can't say it is because sometimes it is situational, i.e. if you don't find a ward, you're not getting anything from it. Vision control is quite an important aspect of the game, especially for junglers, so having the ability to kill a ward for free is really nice. If you counter jungle the chickens, you can stomp enemies' defensive wards in their own jungle. And if you get your own chickens and the enemy's chickens, that's 2 wards that you can kill. Also, don't forget that when you kill wards, you'll be granted gold for them. So essentially, when you smite the chickens and you do stomp a ward, you get extra gold. When you combine this with your sweeper, you can stomp wards with your chicken effect. You can then sweep other wards too, and you're just denying so much vision control from the enemy. So that does it for my opinions on the different buffs and how useful they are. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe to me for more educational league content. I'm going to be releasing a ton of Season 5 jungle content as well. You can find me on Facebook and on Twitter and catch me streaming on Twitch as well. All those links are in the description. But thanks so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in my next video.